Welcome to the Disney Wedding Podcast. This show is brought to you by Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, the only guidebook and bridal organizer tailored exclusively to Disney's fairy tale weddings at Walt Disney World. I'm Carrie Hayward, and each week I feature Disney wedding updates, money-saving tips, and interviews with wedding vendors and real Disney couples. I also cover honeymoons, anniversaries, and engagements at the Disney parks and resorts. Join me now as the Disney Wedding Podcast celebrates romance at Disney destinations. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that the Fairy Tale Weddings Guide has been updated with new pricing and policies. Disney has not yet changed any of their overall minimums or their per-person food and beverage minimum, but they did raise some of the venue fees and the venue-specific food and beverage minimums at some of the theme park locations. I've also added information on how to get your Florida marriage license via Zoom, and I've completely redesigned the What Can I DIY and Where chart on page 123 so that you can easily see at a glance exactly which items you can bring yourself or hire someone else to do and at which venues. If you already own the ebook, updates are free. All you have to do is log back into your account at fairytaleweddingsguide.com and re-download the file. And now on with the show. Today on the Disney Wedding Podcast, I am speaking with Disney bride Sarah Cann about her dinner at the Festival of the Lion King with an after party in Magic Kingdom to celebrate her wedding. I thought you guys would be interested to hear how she chose these locations and how she planned everything and how it all turned out. So welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being on the show today. I would love to start at the very beginning and find out how you guys decided that you wanted to celebrate your marriage with a reception inside Animal Kingdom and an after party at Magic Kingdom.
We've been together for 10 years. This year was our 10-year anniversary, and our first date was at Disney. Avery, his dad, was working in catering for about 25 plus years, so their whole family had a big connection to Disney. I had not been since I was a child, but from the beginning of our relationship, it just had a big place in our hearts. So we kind of always knew that we wanted to have a 10-year celebration at Disney, and we did not know anything about Disney fairy tale weddings. So it was a learning process, but it really just comes down to it was a special part of our lives.
Got it. So did you ever consider having a ceremony at Disney, or did you always know that you wanted to be married elsewhere and just celebrate at Disney?
So we had decided pretty early on in our relationship that we didn't want to get married. It was just a personal choice. We felt really good and solid in our commitment to each other. We just both mutually decided, well, we don't need a piece of paper to really make it legit. And so anytime we discussed our Disney wedding, we kind of treated it like a celebration. We were like, we are not getting married. We're just going to have a big party. So our celebration was on the 25th of April this year, but on the 2nd of April was our 10-year anniversary. And I woke up that morning. We had a flight to Denver to kind of celebrate our anniversary. And I woke up that morning and Avery proposed and told me we were going to elope in Denver. And this was in the middle of planning our last minute details of our celebration. So I was suddenly like, oh my gosh, does this change anything about our celebration? So even though we did not have a ceremony, we did end up announcing that we eloped a couple weeks prior at our event. So it ended up being a very special surprise for our friends and family.
Got it. So initially you invited friends and family to a celebration at Disney?
Yes. And we explicitly said this is not a wedding, but if we were to ever have a wedding, this would be like our version of a reception.
So how did they react when they found out it was going to be at Disney?
They were so excited because we have a lot of Disney fans in our friend and family group. But on the invites, we just put the location as Walt Disney World. So until the night of, they did not know the details. They didn't know about Magic Kingdom or the castle portion. So everything was a big surprise. But even without knowing all the details, they were all so excited. Like, we were really nervous that people wouldn't want to do anything in the middle of the night. But as soon as people knew that it was at Disney, they didn't even hesitate.
How many guests did you invite and how many were able to make the trip?
So we knew we wanted it to be intimate. We invited about between 60 and 70 people. I think we came up to like 61 invites, and we had about 58 people show up. So we were very lucky.
That's wonderful. Did you set up a room block for your guests?
We did set up a room block for our immediate family and a few family members and friends that were coming from outside of town. We love Wilderness Lodge, so Avery and I knew we wanted to stay there. And then we made a room block for all of our immediate family at that hotel. And then we had a couple people at Port Orleans, and then I believe 3 or 4 people at Pop Century.
Now, how did you choose the day of the week and time of day for your event? Was it all dictated by the fact that you wanted to use Magic Kingdom for an after party?
Essentially, as you may know, there aren't many options for doing Magic Kingdom. So we knew that we wanted it to be sometime in April because we wanted it to be around the actual anniversary. They, at the time, said they only had around 4 dates available for Magic Kingdom. So that was how we landed on April 25th.
Got it. And now, how did you choose these locations? Like, did you start with Magic Kingdom and work backwards, or did you always know you wanted to do a dinner at Festival of the Lion King?
We were pretty open about where we would have dinner. Once we found out how late the Magic Kingdom portion would have to be, we knew that we would want to just do a dessert party there. So that portion was about 12:30 a.m. to 3 a.m. And then at that time was when we decided on, they gave us kind of a recommendation for how about we do a dinner party somewhere else that you can do a little earlier. At that time, we were open to a lot of different venues. I personally love Epcot, but we did want a specific band for our entertainment. And because of the band needing a certain setup, that's where we landed on the folk theater, because they had the proper, I'm not sure the specifics because I'm not really good with technology, but they had what was needed for a band to perform. They're called Audio Exchange, and they actually do perform at other Disney events, like they do like Food and Wine, but they had not done a Disney wedding before, so they were considered an outside vendor, but technically they were still affiliated with Disney.
I see. Okay. Now, did you guys use any outside vendors for the portions of your event that you were able to?
So for outside vendors, I pulled my hair and makeup from Tampa, and then that the band was technically an outside vendor, but they have like experience with working with Disney at Food and Wine, but they mainly just do weddings in general. So for the dinner portion, we had the band and they had their own DJ. And then in the dessert party portion, we had DJ Steve with Disney, but nothing else was outside vendor.
Got it. So you talked about having a live band. Can you tell me a little bit more about the entertainment that you added to the dinner portion and then to the after party part?
For the dinner party portion, we had the band and the DJ, and it was kind of a quick little segment with the band. By the time they started, because we made our announcement in a video montage. We kind of came out, we said hi to everyone, and we just had the DJ play a couple songs during that. By the time the band really started playing, it was like an hour and a half into the dinner portion. So that felt very fast. It was amazing. They were wonderful, but the amount of songs was pretty minimal. And then in the dessert party, DJ Steve, I gave him a lot of free reign. I sent like a few songs that I wanted. And then I told him that I am a Swiftie, and he definitely delivered. He played like all of the best Taylor Swift songs. So we last minute did decide to add a fireworks segment. That was like a very last minute decision. And it was about 10 seconds of fireworks at the dessert party portion. That was absolutely amazing. I can't wait for you to see those pictures. And then we did have Mickey and Minnie come at the dessert portion as well. They very much exceeded our expectations. We were told we would have them for 30 minutes, but they seemed to really enjoy dancing with all of us and the guests, and they stayed for at least 45 minutes. Like, that was just one of the best parts of the whole night. Loved them.
That's great. Did you request specific outfits for them?
Yes. So just because we had kind of like a retro disco theme, and with the castle, I really wanted to go with that vibe. So I did do the iridescent outfits, and they were perfect. I'm glad I made that choice.
And then with the fireworks, at what point in the dessert party did you have your 10 seconds of fireworks go off?
Honestly, everything with timing was a blur. Like, I feel like I didn't know what time it was at any time because I was having the best time of my life. I would say, though, it was probably closer to the second half of the dessert party, like closer to the end of the evening. The only thing I would say is the DJ did announce that he played like Fireworks by Katy Perry, and it was like in a way announced, but we were all mingling, and I don't think we all expected the fireworks in that moment. So by the time a lot of people pulled their phones out, like the fireworks were done. So that was the only thing. But a lot of people somehow still got a good video of it. So they're quick with their phones.
Do you have any menu items or cake flavors from either your dinner or the after party that you would recommend?
We had a lot of favorites between us and the guests. As any bride and groom would say, we really didn't eat much at all at the dessert portion because we were just living in a dream. But from what our guests said, we had like the Dole Whip cream puffs. Those are really good. And then we did get like the chocolate fountain for dipping. Like, I think they had pound cake and like some fruit. Everybody said they really loved that, but we unfortunately didn't end up eating any of it. And then at the dinner portion, we loved the filet at Le Cellier in Canada. So that was one thing that we handpicked, and that was amazing. That was so yummy. And then we also had this Parmesan champagne risotto, and everybody loved that. So I would say those are like the standouts for me.
Got it. Did you guys do any kind of floral or decor for either event?
Yes, that was my favorite part, to really coordinate with the decor specialist. So I was very, very particular, but also very open-minded. Like, I sent her a Pinterest board inspo about the vibe that I wanted, but I also gave her a lot of freedom. Like, I didn't want a color scheme. So we did I would call it like a colorful, elegant disco. So we had lots of different flowers, lots of different colors coordinated, mainly like oranges and greens, and then also almost like a vintage retro vibe. And they did so amazing with that. Even though I gave them a lot of freedom, they were really great about whatever vision you want to come to life. Like, it doesn't have to be Disney inspired. It really can be like whatever your dream wedding is, it shocked me personally. One of my biggest fears was that I was going to have to be like straight fairy tale Mickey ears Cinderella, but that wasn't the case at all. It was very personalized.
Interesting. Okay. And did you add any other events in the days around your main event for your guests?
We didn't add any other wedding events. Like, we had a park day with our family the next day, but we didn't do any rehearsal dinners or brunches or anything.
Can you give my listeners a timeline of how your celebration all fit together?
Yes. So something unique that we did that I was really happy we did was, instead of a portrait session, we did do photos at Wilderness Lodge prior. So we had to fit that into the timeline. But that ended up being amazing because we got all of our really important photos between ourselves and with our family members before the event, so we could actually enjoy the event and live in the moment. So that affected our timeline a lot, but it did end up worth it. So I started getting ready with my mom and my sister and my mother-in-law around 2 p.m. or so. And then at 7 p.m., we left the room and did the first look just between me and Avery. And then we had, of course, some personal photos with us. And then we had until about 8:30 to 8:45 to do any other photos we wanted at Wilderness Lodge and with our immediate family that were still staying there. And then around 8:45, our family that was staying at the hotel got into a shuttle, and then we got into our own separate shuttle van. And then any outside guests went to the wedding pavilion area, like around that parking lot, to be transported to Animal Kingdom. So that was around 8:45 to 9:30 was our gap for transportation, because it was a little bit of a drive. And then around 9:30 is whenever they announced us into the reception at the Folk Theater. We said hi, but it was I was nervous that part would be a little awkward because we weren't having like your traditional ceremony, but it was very seamless. The DJ kind of directed everybody's attention to the screen, and then we played our beautiful little video montage. And at the end of the montage, it announced us as married and kind of told everybody how we eloped in Denver. And there wasn't a dry eye in the room. So we did have a little bit portion of time for that moment. I think that was probably about like 10 minutes. And then we just kind of opened a space of time for toasts. We only had about 3 toasts, so that didn't take long. And then the rest of the dinner portion from about like 10:30 to 12:30-ish, may have been more like 12:15 a.m., was where we just kind of danced, mingled, had we did do a buffet for the dinner portion. So everybody went to the buffet and ate there. And then around like 12:15 to 12:30, this is where we kind of surprised everyone. So nobody knew that we were going to the castle. They just knew it was a magical dessert party is the way we stated it. So this is when they kind of let everyone know, if you are exhausted, there is a shuttle that you can leave in, but it really is worth it if you stick around. And we were lucky that everyone stuck around. So then they shuttled us from like 12:30 to 1 was our time gap to shuttle to the dessert party to Magic Kingdom. And then from 1 to 3 was our dessert party. And that was mainly just dancing our hearts out and just enjoying the unbelievable feeling of being in Magic Kingdom in the middle of the night.
That's awesome. When you guys were planning this, what were some of the most important aspects of the event where you focused your attention or your budget?
Honestly, we were just grateful for the opportunity in general, and we really just tried to enjoy the entire journey. There wasn't really anything that stuck out. We were just grateful to have a Disney wedding, to be honest with you. I feel like that's a very cliche answer, but we couldn't really believe that it was even happening the whole time. We really were like the least picky bride and groom, I feel like, that somebody could have. Like we were the opposite of a bridezilla. It was important to me that we stayed true to who we were. I feel like it's a little hard to like not get stuck in the clouds whenever you're planning an event like this. Like it's obviously extraordinary and once in a lifetime. So it was important to me that our floral and decor, that when people walked into the event, they felt like, oh my gosh, this is Sarah and Avery. Like this is so them. I wanted people to feel the magic of Disney and I wanted them to feel like they were there, but I also wanted them to almost forget they were at Disney, like we were in our own little bubble. So I think that's why that was important to me. It wasn't even that I wanted it to be extravagant or like certain details. It was just the vibe that I wanted to create. And it honestly, it exceeded all of my dreams.
That's fantastic. Were there any aspects that were less important where you saved your money or just your effort?
I do think we didn't care about the mode of transportation that much. They have a lot of great options with the carriage or the luxury vehicles, and we didn't really care about that. Like we were just fine with the normal shuttles. So I feel like that wasn't a big deal to us, but I can't really think of much else.
Got it. So out of all of this, what ended up being your favorite memory of your event?
That's so hard. I think one of the biggest parts that stand out was whenever we were standing by the screen while everybody was watching the video and like looking around whenever we announced that we did get married and like there wasn't a dry eye in the room. That was really special. And even some of the coordinators and the planners in the room, like you could tell that it touched them too. And that was really cool.
That's wonderful. Now, did anything go wrong or just not turn out like you expected?
As far as the actual event, if anything did go wrong, I feel like we didn't notice because we were just like so happy. I mean, we were absolutely like my cheeks hurt the next day from smiling so much. Everything really was so beautiful. But the actual process, we did have a little bit of issues with communication, just with various people with emailing and in the final weeks with certain details that just had to be finalized. It was a little difficult to get some things finalized. There were just communication hiccups. They all ended up okay. Everything ended up resolved. There's just so many different people that have to communicate to each other within the event planning. So we would speak to one person, they would take notes on something, and then I feel like it wouldn't get communicated to another person or to our planner. So that was just kind of It was a little frustrating at times, but it all worked out.
That's great. Was there anything that seemed like a big deal beforehand or you were worried about and then it turned out not to be?
We were very worried that they would be valid in this, but we were nervous that they would want to leave after the dinner portion due to being tired. A lot of people are not used to being up that late, and we had not yet told them that the second portion would be in front of the castle. So part of me was like, we need to tell them, like almost to bribe them to stay awake. But I really wanted to capture like the surprise, and I wanted people to be comfortable. I didn't want them to be miserable. But only about 2 or 3 people ended up leaving after the dinner portion. And they were like guests that were a little older. So it really honestly made sense. I was very surprised. Like pretty much everyone went to the second portion.
That's great. Is there anything you would have done differently knowing what you know now?
I do think and I've seen some people discuss this, like, and Avery has seen it like on some of the pages that we are on. I would recommend that on top of the Disney wedding planner to maybe have your own planner or at least have like a liaison just because of those communication issues. I feel like if I didn't keep up with my emails the way that I did, certain things just wouldn't have even been discussed or gotten done. I do think having just a middleman that could stay on top of that would definitely have helped with some of that stress. So if somebody is privileged enough to be able to have an extra person in the middle, I would recommend that. But other than that, everything else went really smoothly.
Got it. Okay. Do you have any other tips or advice for future Disney couples, maybe couples who want to have just a reception-only event?
I hope people take a page out of our book and know that like it is your special time. Like it doesn't have to be a rehearsal dinner and a ceremony and a reception. Like you can do whatever is going to make you and your partner happy. And Disney is, as much as we are grateful to be a Disney bride and groom, at the end of the day, they should be happy to have you, choosing that as your place to celebrate such a special time. So just don't be afraid to be unique and to change up the timeline, change up how your event is. Having just the reception was honestly like, I think all of our guests loved it too, because the ceremony and the vows are really for the couple, but to just party all night, it makes the guests have more fun. So I would say just be true to yourself. It doesn't have to be a cliche event just because it is Disney fairy tale weddings. Like they were really amazing and happy for us. And they were as excited as we were for doing something a little different.
Got it. Well, Sarah, I think you've offered a lot of great tips for anyone who's interested in getting married or having a vow renewal or any kind of celebration at Walt Disney World. And I appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me talk about all of this and ramble a little bit.
That's our show for today. I'm your host, Carrie Hayward, inviting you to join me again next week for another episode of the Disney Wedding Podcast. Past shows and tons of photos for each episode are available on my website, DisneyWeddingPodcast.com, or listen in your favorite podcast app. And for instant answers to all your Walt Disney World wedding questions, check out Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, available as an interactive ebook with continual free updates at fairytaleweddingsguide.com.